if healthcare workers could, have the best pay, the best benefits, the best support, the best break room, they can provide the best patient care. Maybe sounds like a crazy concept, but I think when you look at other industries, it feels like we should be giving that same level of treatment to healthcare workers, given that healthcare workers are actually caring for human lives.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of On the Clock and Off the Record. Each episode is brought to you by Atlas MedStaff, unapologetically human. Today's guest is Anthony Scarpone-Lambert, co-founder of Adni, and one of those guys that didn't take a typical path to building a company. He started off as a nurse, working in the emergency department during COVID, seeing firsthand how broken and fragmented things are for healthcare workers. But what's interesting is, before all of that, he was literally performing on Broadway as a kid, which I am insanely jealous of, by the way, if you know my background at all. Anthony isn't one that came from a straight line. He's been figuring things out as he goes for a long time now. What I like is he's not coming about this from a point of theory. He's lived it. He's been at the bedside. He's building a company, and he's doing all of this real time with all of us here in the industry. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rich. I'm honored to be here. As I said, the background has become quite the staple on my LinkedIn feed over the past year or two. So excited to chat with you today.
Awesome. All right, you ready to get into this?
Let's do it.
All right. On the clock. Question 1. As a registered nurse, what did you see on the ground that really made you think something needs to change here?
I mean, where do I begin? I think there was a ton of things. I think from like a high level, probably the thing that always frustrated me the most was that, healthcare workers are just pretty undersupported in terms of, things like we barely have a break room, healthcare workers, barely can use the bathroom during their shift. Don't typically get much for like Nurses Week, our week of recognition. So I think just seeing kind of like a lot of these things kind of, being a healthcare worker, it can, feel a little bit frustrating, especially as you are saving lives. And I think in a lot of scenarios where, you're at a pretty kind of sometimes unsafe job even, right? So I think kind of from a high level, just seeing healthcare workers undersupported in various ways, and then kind of scoping in more to something more specific, I think through my experience, especially as like a nursing student and a new grad nurse, and I've seen this a lot with travelers as well, is just kind of this like fatigue of managing so many different platforms for your life as a healthcare worker. I feel like the simplest example of this is like how every time you are signing up for a new job or something, you have to like put in all this information again, or there's all these different Facebook groups, all these different places to shop for things. It's just super disjointed. And I felt like a lot of these point solutions were really not doing a great job, like providing healthcare workers with a great experience, kind of managing their career. So that was kind of the more specific pain point that I thought, wow, I feel like there could be something like a technology platform to kind of fix this.
Gotcha. You've interviewed and worked with a ton of healthcare workers over the years. What did they say or do or show you that forced you to either rethink your original assumptions about what you're doing right now, or how you got to that product that you are at right now?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, we've interviewed probably thousands of healthcare workers at this point. And beyond, I think, just like all the user interviews we've done, I think honestly, even more than that is like the actual things that healthcare workers do, like the actions they take, and kind of being able to see all the data that we have around that. And I honestly think, maybe I should have just realized this from the start, but I think sometimes when you're building a product you're so passionate about, you get so like excited that people are going to use everything. I think probably the biggest learning is like healthcare workers are kind of just tired after a long day. Like they kind of just want to laugh. They kind of just want things to be done quickly, and they want to go about their day, right? So I think that part of that for us has shown up in trying to automate a ton of the workflows that we have in our product, trying to keep things super simple and fun, and even adding a lot of humor into our product and user experience as well. So I think anywhere you can kind of add some humor, especially dark humor, healthcare workers seem to love that, and also make things so simple that healthcare workers barely have to do anything. I think those are like the two biggest things I've seen that have probably now become like principles of like any product decision we have.
ER nurses have always been my favorite through the years, and I can tell you exactly why. One, you can handle anything, and your dark humor is phenomenal. Like I
Yeah.
absolutely appreciate it. I understand where it comes from, and yeah, it has driven me multiple days, like to do more. So there you go.
Yeah. It's a great life hack for agencies too. I've actually like I feel like maybe like leveraging memes or leveraging some sort of like
Yeah.
dark humor to like build that talent relationship to start rather than just it being about jobs right away, I think could actually be like a unique way to stand out. Because yeah, healthcare workers really love that.
There have been a few times where we've put out me, Ashley, the brand team have put out memes before, and some people in the industry have looked at us kind of sideways. I'm like, no, 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 no. This is what this they appreciate this. Like
Yeah,
this is who they are. Like this is funny to them. Like this is and it helps them through their day because that's how they deal with stress or trauma or all the stuff that comes with what you do.
totally, totally. Yeah, I think that is in a way almost like I think become a coping mechanism for healthcare workers. And we've seen that even through like social media and a lot of different like healthcare worker creators that produce kind of like humorous content. And
Yeah.
it's just like sometimes nice to be feeling like you relate to someone, right? Because you're like, that very niche like annoyance of like, when your patient does something right before shift change and you're like, oh crap, I have to deal with this now.
Yep. All right, next question. Lumify evolved into Adni. Tell me what that was, how it started, and why it evolved.
Yeah, concisely, we started with actually a physical product for night shift nurses called the Lumify uNight light. And that was actually like our first product we ever launched. And from the start, I think our vision was like, hey, we want to build better tools and resources to support healthcare workers. And kind of that first product was the Lumify uNight light. From there is that kind of built virality and built a large customer base. We then started launching more products. We built a marketplace. We then added jobs. And as we kind of started expanding our product more as like a software product beyond like the physical hardware product we developed, that's kind of really where the evolution of, hey, we should really rebrand and like launch kind of an umbrella for our organization called Adni. And Adni actually stands for support in Latin. So, we really felt that that kind of, I guess, represented, I think, our vision well of like trying to build a platform to support healthcare workers. And now Lumify Care kind of lives within that ecosystem of Adni. So that's kind of why we evolved. And, Lumify was a great start to the business. I'm always like, oh, we love the Lumify light because I think it was a great example of like a very specific problem that only healthcare workers could really understand. And it really helped us build that initial user base of clinicians.
Makes sense. I need one, by the way, for my shelf up here or over
Oh
there.
my gosh, yes. Oh, I'm gonna get that for you for sure. Get one shipped out
Like,
to Omaha. That'd be awesome.
all right, last question on the clock. In your view, where are we, staffing agencies, wasting the most time and energy right now?
Mm. I think from my experience, I mean, there's a few things that come to mind, but maybe like a hot take one would be I think that sometimes it feels like we're wasting too much time trying to call people. Um, a lot of calling habits, and maybe again, this is maybe a hot take, is obviously calling is important, but I think that calling is really become, in my opinion, just like not a super effective way to engage healthcare workers. I actually think it'd be way more worth your time to post content on social media with your phone number to text me if you're interested in a contract, and then we'll schedule a call, or text first and say, hey, would you like a call or a text? Like, what do you prefer? Because I don't know, I talk to so many travelers and they just hate the calls, and I think a lot of times don't answer them. Even by our experience, we have like a team of coaches in Adni that calls and texts users when they sign up for Adni to welcome them into our community. And, people love text. They respond, they ask questions. But I think in terms of calling, I don't know, maybe it's this new update on the iPhone where we have like a spam caller thing that like now goes to voicemail. But I
Yeah.
just feel like even myself, I don't answer any calls. So I think that trying to build content and maybe leaning more into text to start could be a more effective thing rather than trying to call every single person in your database. That would probably take you, hours to do.
Let me ask you a 1A question to that then. Okay, at some point, does that become a phone call? Because understand, there are things that I still believe in the connection person to person. And I still believe that if you and I had just texted over the years or whatever, I don't believe we'd be at this point right here. I think we talked
Yeah.
and we talked through here or Zoom or whatever. When does the phone call become relevant?
Yes, I definitely think you need to call 100%. I think it's the original, like getting folks inbound and like, getting that conversation started. I think that text is actually a way more effective way to like do outreach to get new like inbound. And then from there, yes, being like, hey, do you have time to take a call? Let me know a time that works for you. I think that has been a way better flow, at least for us, even just engaging our own users rather than just doing cold calls from the start. So text first, build a connection, follow folks on social media, like engage with their content. And then I think it's appropriate to be like, hey, like let's jump on a call. I'd love to like get you submission ready or whatever it is, especially if it's obviously like a fast moving contract. So I think maybe just starting with text, maybe that's a hot take, but I think about it this way, if you can text even 1,000 clinicians today and get 20 of them to respond and then get 5 of them on a call and then get one of them submitted. Yeah. I think that seems like a maybe more effective way rather than calling 1,000 people. And, no one is going to probably answer that first call anyway.
Exactly. You and I could talk about that for hours. I feel just as strongly as you do. And it's not a hot take. It's where we are right now. Like this is real life. So,
yeah.
Like I said, maybe we'll do a follow-up and we'll talk about that more in depth at some point.
Oh, I have so many thoughts about engaging clinicians the first time. I mean, that's like kind of what Adni's like focus now is, right? It's like obviously getting our community activated and getting them to agencies and actually getting them on a call eventually, right? Like that's, I guess, the goal, but at a first outreach, I think text and fun things like sending a meme is more effective.
Yep, I agree. That's all for On the Clock. Now we're going to loosen up a little bit. So let's go off the record.
Nice.
First question. Where were you before all of this? Where'd you come from? What's your background? We talked about it for a minute. Where'd you come? What did you do before you were a nurse?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of started to highlight in the intro, but actually before I was a nurse, I actually grew up doing professional acting, which is pretty unconventional. So by the age of 11, I was performing on Broadway, and then I did that for about 4 years professionally, which was super cool. I was in a play and a musical on Broadway and did some like film and TV as well. And yeah, I think it was a really cool upbringing for sure. Definitely, I think at a young age, like being in a professional environment shapes you in a lot of ways, especially just facing so much like adversity, rejection, having to perform and like show up every day, when you're 11 years old is kind of a big undertaking, I would say. So really grateful for that experience. When my theater career ended, I hit puberty, around 15, 16, couldn't play the child roles anymore. Kind of decided I didn't want to pursue theater forever and was always very interested in healthcare and like the human body. So thought maybe I'd want to go into medicine. Ultimately found my way into nursing in kind of a strange way, but that led me to nursing school. And then pretty early on in my nursing kind of education and career, I was like, hey, I feel like I'm really passionate about like building products. And I think there's like really a need for like more clinician-led tech companies. And that kind of led me then to Lumify and the Adni journey.
I thought for a second there you were going to tell me like, oh, I was on Broadway and I played Gavroche in Les Miserables or something, and I would have died. Like you would have been
close.
Really?
How do you do? My name's Sarah. Yeah, I did. I was in like the final callbacks of the tour of that. Actually, it was like going on tour, but I think I was just at that time where my voice was like starting to change, and it didn't work out. But that was a classic for sure.
This is so embarrassing, but people here know this. Like I could sing every part of Les Miserables front to back. Like it just
nice.
If you had told me that, I would have freaked out. Like that would have been so awesome. So
that's so funny. Yeah, that's a great one.
All right, so tell me about a moment where during building Lumify and Adni that you almost walked away from all of it, and then what pulled you back in? Because every one of us that builds something like this, a company, a product, whatever, almost walks away at some point. What was yours?
It's a great question. I mean, I don't think there's necessarily just one answer. There's probably a lot of moments throughout your journey where it's super, super hard. You're sacrificing, you're working so much. I think probably for me, it was like about 3 years into the journey, we were kind of struggling, I think, with really finding like enterprise revenue. Like a lot of our first batch of revenue was from like products and like getting healthcare workers to purchase products from us. That's kind of how we had originally monetized. And we were trying to take that like product e-commerce marketplace business we built, and actually change that into like a rewards and recognition system for healthcare workers. And we were trying to sell that to healthcare systems as a way to retain their clinicians, because I think my personal original ethos was healthcare systems and healthcare more broadly is spending so much money on recruiting. And yes, because we need contingent labor, obviously, because there's going to be staffing shortages in different areas and different settings of healthcare. But I think when I was looking at the data, it was like these retention metrics were really bad. And I was like, well, if we can help healthcare workers feel more supported and happy and recognize, maybe we can kind of move the needle a bit on retention and save healthcare systems money so they have to be less reliant on recruiting. So we worked with some agencies to do this. We worked with the hospital to do this. And I think we were just really, really struggling to find like real like enterprise revenue that was scalable through that kind of focus. And I think the reason for this is retention is just a really hard metric to track. It's really hard to quantify ROI, especially because the ROI you're trying to sell is ROI that comes in like a year or two, rather
Right.
than like more instant gratification of, hey, we can get you a placement in like a month or whatever, right? So I think that was a big struggle. And honestly, I kind of got to this point where I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is just so hard. And like, we're like in these long sales processes, I think we were pretty lost. And then that was the moment we were like, you know what, let's pause for a sec. We have so many clinicians engaged with us. We have so much, here. If it's not retention, maybe we do focus on recruiting. And I think at the time, it kind of felt like everyone was doing recruiting. Everyone was building a labor marketplace. Everyone was doing some sort of like recruiting software that I almost was like hesitant to kind of lean into that. But then I think when I really did look at the space, I was like, wow, yes, there's a lot of technology and like different startups in the space, but I don't really think that they're approaching it like we would. I don't think they're really approaching it with like a community first perspective. So I was like, that was the jump into recruiting. And then that kind of sparked us up again to keep going.
I think my commentary on that is the edge was you. The edge was you did it before, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. There's lots of marketplaces out there. There were a ton that were building at the same time that you were.
Yeah.
The difference is you did it. You boots on the ground. Like you were in the ER. Like you work with you work with healthcare professionals every single day that are a part of your community. We didn't, right? I mean, we didn't try to build one, but others in the industry that are trying to build one didn't. And I think that, to be fair, and this kind of leads into the next question, is that was your difference. That's the thing I see on my end that sets you apart.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's so fair. It's definitely interesting. I think a lot of the technology in this space, although they say their mission is for healthcare workers or whatever, I do think at the end of the day, it's like everything does become just so transactional and like becomes very not a great user experience for the clinicians, because it's kind of harder to monetize and it's faster to monetize if you can just make the experience a little bit worse for clinicians. And I think there's always a bit of that for sure, because obviously we're in the business that the recruiters do need to speak to the healthcare workers. They do need to connect with them. But I think we've been trying to be so thoughtful of making our approach as clinician first as possible, having clinicians need to opt in, having them always having resources and community support and all of the tools we're building for clinicians beyond just like the job search as well. I think our product is really a vision of being more than just jobs. It's actually trying to support healthcare workers in even finding clinical references and shopping for discounted products and connecting with peers. So I think that is something I think about every single day. Could probably talk about it for like 3 hours. So I'll just pause there.
That could be part of part two.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Last question and off the record. When you think about the company that you have built, what makes you proud in a way that you don't always say out loud?
Mm. Wow. I think just probably like fully transparently, I think I'm most proud of how much we've been able to accomplish with literally 3 people. Super lean team. Basically just the founding team is just, myself and my 2 co-founders. And I think the fact that we've been able to build like such a reputable business in the industry and work with so many incredible agencies like Atlas MedStaff and really, I think, grow the business as much as we have and doing it with such a lean team. I think that is honestly one of the things I'm most proud of. We've just become so hyper optimized with everything we do. And I think I credit that so much to my 2 co-founders, Brendan and Jennifer, because they are also just absolute beasts and so efficient. I think, a lot of companies raise all this money and start scaling their team. And I think there are a lot of pros to that. But I think some of the downsides is I think that things just become a little bit like the bureaucracy starts bleeding in and things kind of slow down. So I feel like because we've each been able to really like take ownership of our part of the business, and I've been able to just do whatever I want with marketing. Like, there's no team to have to get approval. We just go for it. And I think that's really helped us grow fast. And of course, we're hiring and we're growing the team and all of that. But I think keeping that really like nimble startup mindset has, I think, really paid off for us and something I'm really proud of.
Makes sense. I didn't realize there was only 3 of you. That is super awesome. So even at this point, like that is great. And if I can give you advice from one founder to another, don't grow too fast, right?
Yeah.
Just trust who you are, trust that you can do it. And then once you get to the point, you'll know when you get to that point, you'll feel it, and then hire that next person and the person after that. But trust yourself. You and the other 2 know better what you want to build than anybody else. So that's
totally.
That's my 2 cents worth of advice for you there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, especially because we care the most too. Like, I mean, we have contractors and some folks that definitely help us with miscellaneous tasks like editing videos and posting on social media and helping us with like outreach and things like that, of course. But it's honestly been really nice to, I think, really make sure that our business is ready to scale and like serving our customers before thinking about really scaling our team. And maybe that's not always like the mindset that other startups have. They want to like hire and go quick, but I think that there's downsides to that. And I think we've seen that in our industry alone.
All right, rapid fire. We're going to go through 5 questions here.
Cool.
You ready? All right.
I'm ready. Yes.
In honor of Stephen Colbert, what kind of sandwich is best?
This is so hard. I would say a bacon egg on a cinnamon raisin bagel toasted. It's a sandwich. It's breakfast, but that's my favorite. I could eat that like every day.
So like sweet and savory at the same time.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
It's so good.
The other jealous part of me, grew up on Broadway, right? You're down the street from Katz's Deli. Katz's Deli.
I am.
Oh my gosh. That's one of my bucket lists. I want to go there so bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'll have to get you some stuff and bring it to Omaha.
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
It's literally on my block. Like, I'm not kidding. I live on 42nd Street.
We can eat it right here at the table. Like we'll record everything. Would be awesome. All right. The worst advice you ever received is
you need an MBA or you need like a business person to lead your business. Like, you can't do it. And I think that is probably the dumbest advice ever, because I've been in a lot of startup communities, a lot of different accelerators and spaces, and it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you have an MBA from Harvard, Stanford, if you have a PhD from MIT. Every startup has the same challenges and the same ups and downs and, kind of percent of failure as anyone else. I think it's actually more important to just understand your users. So I was told a lot like, oh, you're just a nurse. Like, you don't have the right background. I pretty much did this as like a very young nurse as well. Like, very early in my career, I started this company. And I think people were always just trying to like make me get like another business person or whatever. And that is just not good advice at all. So I'm glad I didn't follow it.
Completely agree. I completely agree. My guilty pleasure right now is...
I have a good one. It's actually going to the spa and getting massages. I found a massage place like near my apartment in New York City, and it's like kind of pricey, but it is so freaking nice. Like, literally after a long week to get a massage and to have the spa, and I'm just like, it is literally my wellness moment. So it is a little bit of a guilty pleasure because I'm kind of like spending a lot of cash on it, but I think it's well worth it.
That's exactly what a guilty pleasure is, though, right? I mean, doesn't matter what you spend on it, you enjoy it.
Yeah, 100% I do.
All right. The most used app on your phone right now is?
Probably TikTok. Honestly, I post so much content every single day, run all of these UGC accounts to reach healthcare workers. So I think TikTok's probably my number one, mostly for work stuff, but I do use it as well a bit. And then second is probably more of like a functional one, which is like Slack and Messenger. Just always on the go, messaging the team.
Same. Yeah, same. All right, last question. Our industry would be better if.
Oh my gosh, where do I
Oh my gosh, you
begin?
can be so just 100% honest with me here. Like that's what this is all about. How can we be better?
Wow. Um, I mean, I think if healthcare workers could, have the best pay, the best benefits, the best support, the best break room, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for free so that they can provide the best patient care. Maybe sounds like a crazy concept, but I think when you look at other industries like, employees at Google, these
Yeah.
are the types of things that, these employees are used to receiving. So it's like, feels like we should be giving that same level of treatment to healthcare workers, given that healthcare workers are actually caring for human lives. And I know when I'm laying in that hospital bed as a patient, I want my healthcare workers to have the best night's sleep, the best wellness, the best nutritious snacks to help them feel nourished and energized to be able to provide the best patient care to me, right? Because that's, I think, what we all want. I mean, even if you have any family members in the hospital, you, of course, want the clinicians to hopefully be providing the best care to them. So I think that is ultimately what would make the healthcare industry, the healthcare staffing industry better, is if healthcare workers really had that level of support. And maybe it is hard to get there with direct employers, but I think staffing companies have a really awesome part to play there. They can provide a great experience to their travelers to make them feel super special. I think companies like Adni can really try to support clinicians outside of work. So that's why I'm so excited about what we're doing, and I think that is something that can make the industry better.
That's part three, by the way. When we do our next part
Yeah,
is how yeah how my gosh, it could be so much different if there was just if we just changed a few things in healthcare. Like if you're right,
yeah,
like there are employees in industries that are treated so much better that than healthcare workers. And why? Because at our
yeah,
weakest point, at our most vulnerable point, right, in a facility, in a hospital, in we need that. We people, the population needs that care. And you're right. If we could just make sure that we take care of the people that take care of us, it'd be so much better. So
yeah. And that's honestly one of my favorite parts of like the healthcare recruiting industry and like staffing specifically is like I think that recruiters obviously are here to help healthcare workers find jobs and like, get placements and all of that. But I actually think that something that maybe isn't talked about enough in like recruiter training sessions is the recruiters actually have a really powerful part to play in like supporting the clinician. And therefore recruiters are directly impacting patient care because literally every study shows that when healthcare workers feel supported, whether it's in the hospital, whether it's by the recruiter, whether it's by their coach, whoever it is, they provide better patient health outcomes improve. And I guess it seems like common sense, right? Like obviously, if you can show up to work feeling supported and empowered, you probably are going to be more engaged in actually doing your job and the tasks that you do. So I think that is something that maybe isn't talked about enough about the role of a recruiter is that they're actually almost there as like a support system for the clinicians, and that therefore is really directly impacting the healthcare industry.
to be fair, we have always talked about this, and I don't like to talk about Atlas on these, right? I mean, it's because it's about you guys, it's about you and the person that I'm interviewing when I do these podcasts. But we have always believed that, and I've always come into work every day thinking, okay, I can affect patient care by how I manage employees and how we treat our recruiters and how
Yeah.
and how we treat our healthcare professionals that work for us. So you're 100% right, and that I think that's where we end right here, because our partnership with you with Adney right now is it took us a while to get here. It took us, and to be fair, it was probably more me than anything, but it took us a while to get here. I am super proud of what we just started building with you, and I can't wait to see where we go from here.
Oh, me too. Thanks, Rich. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm super hyped. I've always loved that Atlas MedStaff has such like vibrant energy, and I think I've talked about this before, but just like even your website, you have faces, you have the actual travelers involved, and I think that is something that is honestly so rare in our industry, which is kind of surprising, but I think it's really cool to see Atlas just, I mean, even your shirt that you're wearing. Like, I know this is so like small, but that just, it shows the brand and the vibe, right? And I think that that is something that really, as a healthcare worker myself, when you have different options, I want to go, work with people that are cool and fun and like have support and are good vibes because, sometimes when you're in the hospital, you don't always have those vibes. So I'm really excited about you guys, and I think it's it's going to be great. Excited to get it kicked off.
Awesome. Well, check us out on Adni. If you, Anthony, close us out, where can we find you? Where can we find Adni? And then how can healthcare professionals, especially traveling healthcare professionals, find our jobs and other jobs there on your platform?
Yeah, for sure. If you are a traveler, if you've ever thought about taking an assignment, you can check us out at adni.co, and you'll see Atlas MedStaff highlighted right on our jobs page. If you just click jobs on the bottom nav bar, you'll see Atlas right at the top. And then you can apply to jobs from there. And yeah, follow us on social media. We're Adni app, ADNI app, on all social media platforms.
Awesome. Anthony, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Join us for our next episode where we talk to another industry insider about the staffing world.